this video, I thought I would go back to more of a basic concept. For those of you who are sometimes wondering what it is when guitar players are talking about, or any musician really for that matter, when they say, well, that's the 4 chord, and that's the 5 chord, or that's a dominant 7th. And what do all these numbers mean? Right? So numbers are sort of an abstraction that we apply on top of our musical framework. Numbers are really an abstraction anyway, right? The number 5. What does the 5 represent? 5 things. And it works for any 5 things. It could be 5 dump trucks, 5 ice cream cones, right? It's an abstraction. It's the same idea in music. When we apply these numbers, what we're really talking about is degrees of a scale. So let's take A, for example. The 1 is the A note. The 2 is the next note of the scale. It's the second note. The 3 is the third note. We call that a major third because it has a major sound. Then we have the 4th note. That's the 4. Then we have the 5th. That's the 5. Then the 6th, and then a 7, and then a 1. So when we talk about go to the 4 chord, what we're really talking about is going to the chord that represents the 4th note of the scale. Okay. Now, what's cool about that is you can move this around pretty easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it starts over again. Well, I don't have to think A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. I'm not thinking about those notes because I'm thinking in terms of the numbers that they represent. And the reason I do that is it's very easy for me to move to another key. Now, let's say I was going to move to A flat. Right? And I don't want to have to remember, oh, A flat and B flat and C. I just think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then start over. It's very easy to transpose those or move those around because it's just an abstraction. It's just numbers. Right? So that's what we talk about. That's where it comes from, is the scale degrees. So you're going to hear some variations that are very common on that. And one is you'll hear a major third or a minor third. That's a major third. It comes from the major scale. A minor third is flattened. So you'll hear musicians talk about that all the time. What's a minor third? Or a major third? Now every time you put a variation on one of these notes in the scale, there's a name for it. And it depends on which note you're modifying. I'm only going to cover the basic ones, which is the third, major third, minor third. Then we'll talk about the 7th. That's the next most important note to understand. That's called a major 7th. Not used a whole lot in blues and rock music. What we tend to use instead is a dominant 7th. It's a flattened 7th. We use that note. So you're going to modify that 7th by flattening it. Technically, there's another name for that. It's a Mixolydian mode. But seeing as this is sort of an intro basics lesson, there's no reason to worry about that. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the 2 or the 3 or it's a dominant 7. We're really talking about those scale degrees. Right? Now, it's in your best interest to learn where those scale degrees occur for every key that you're in. Right? So if I'm in A and I know that I have my 1, 2, major, 3rd, 4, 5, major 6, dominant 7th, and then I start again at the 1, I want to know that I have those same things there. I want to know where those are all over the neck. So that allows me the freedom of moving freely across the neck. Now, you're not going to be able to do that overnight. It takes a really long time to really understand where everything is on the fretboard. How do you do it? Well, you practice your scales. and you practice them in different positions. But it's more than just practicing the scales and playing them. It's knowing where those numbers are, right? Knowing where, no matter what position I'm in, if I'm, let's say, in the key of A, I know where my major thirds are, right? And I just know where those are. And it's that same sort of idea. I know where those are because of practicing the scales in all those places. I'm not thinking C sharp, that is the major third. I'm thinking major third. It's an abstraction. So that will help you unlock some of the terminology that we use. And I'll probably cover some of the more advanced ways that we use this number system when we talk about fourths and fifths and sixths and even seconds. Don't modify that one a whole lot, but get some interesting results when we do. So that's basically the number system that we're all using.